Hello and welcome. December 21st, 2020. Our crazy year is almost over, and it is the winter solstice today, the shortest day of the year. And so this morning, I woke up really feeling these energies. And some of them are cosmic energies, celestial energies, earth energies, personal energy. But something is certainly going on that's beyond my ability to understand. And I guess that's why I'm making this video today for you, and for me really, is because that was the direction that I received. And it's funny how that works, especially after our Sunday service talking about the Virgin Mary and Joseph and how they all were visited by angels, the shepherds too. And these angels come in ways very mysterious. Just as it is very widely said, God works in mysterious ways. And so all of the divine bringers do as well. And so I just was feeling very deeply this guidance to begin the new year right now, to begin to set our trajectory at this very auspicious time when the planets are doing some very unique alignments, and when our world is coming out of something extraordinary and into something much more extraordinary. So this word kept coming to me that we are lightbringers, you and I, and that we have a divine work to do on the planet. And everybody in the spiritual world who endeavors to live a spiritual life has been saying that for a while, and now it has reached a peak. And that is the energy that I believe that I'm feeling, and probably you are too. This potent, pregnant, giant potential. You know, and what a great time to think about it in that way as we celebrate this birth of the living Christ in our world. 2,000 years is nothing in even the history of the earth, let alone cosmic time. And then when we start to play with the notion that time itself is illusory, 2,000 years is but an exhale. So we are the light bringers, and yet we know that we are the light of the world. Why do we know that? Well, Jesus certainly told us that. But really, when we get deep into our hearts, we know that we are much more than the little dramas of our life. And I believe that is why we reach higher. It's why we come together in spiritual community. So this today, December 21st, 2020, in the winter solstice, the time between our last Sunday service yesterday and Christmas, right before the new year, there is a great harmony. And this notion of harmonizing ourselves with the divine comes within reach, so that the things that we set out to do as souls become within reach. That is, we begin to realize our mission, both human and divine. The world, as strange as it is, you know the saying, truth is stranger than fiction. As bizarre as the world is today, when you take a step back and really look at what's going on, I like to say it's great writing. Whoever the cosmic producer and author is doing some great work, because it is a high drama here on planet Earth these days. I think you can agree. So how do we harmonize this greater mission that we've been given? And I think that is what all saints who have come to planet Earth have ultimately discovered, and usually from being locked in prison or facing their own death. You know, many of the greatest writings come from people right before they know they're going to be executed. And can you imagine what that's like, to really be that close to the divine, that intimate with your own mortality? So in that spirit of harmonizing, of bringing light, and not only of bringing light, but of being the light. You know what I mean about being the light? Being that which you know that you are, and I know that I am, and yet daily fall short of, and then the next day get back up to try again. The propensity of human beings to always endeavor to do better. What a beautiful thing it is. So I don't know a whole lot about astrology and about solstices. We've talked about the age of Aquarius, which some people say we just entered at 2 a.m. And others like Emmett Fox say it takes a couple of 100 years to switch ages. And then we've got the yugas, great amounts of time that have different qualities in the experience of life. So we've got all these things working, and some say this harmonization of Saturn and Jupiter, that these two planets become one. So let that be our metaphor for our solstice meditation. We'll be doing a little meditation in this video. But if we could just keep it as simple as let me harmonize my human life with this greater mission that I know I've been given. Because we all have it, no matter at what degree. And it doesn't matter whether your mission is big or small. It's all equal in the eyes of God. What you're doing here and what I'm doing here, whether we succeed or fail, doesn't as much matter as that we endeavor to try to do our best. And it goes back to that notion that we always want to better our lives. And the people around us, you know how it is when you look upon another person who feels so inadequate, and yet you can see the potential in them. You can see the magnificence in them. And then sometimes we can't see it for ourselves. And that magnificence does not come from our smaller ideas of ourselves. It comes through the harmonization of our smaller thinking intellectual mind with this great divine mind, however you call it. You know, we've called it so many thousands of things throughout time. The Tao, the universe, infinite spirit, pure being, undifferentiated presence. You can go on and on trying to find words that imply wholeness and completeness. But however it is, the words that we can come up with in our minds pale in comparison to the experience of unity. And that unity around spiritual centers like ours and many across the world, that unity is found in the community, in endeavoring to a common purpose. So let us, if I could rewind to the beginning of this tape to begin in prayer, let us begin in a prayer. And it's one that is an old prayer in unity. In our unity of purpose, we are guided by infinite wisdom and prospered by divine love. In our unity of purpose, we are guided by infinite wisdom and prospered by divine love. So let's bring that into the center. So if you've been with us for a while and have followed some of the midweek meditations and some of the Sunday services, you know that there is a intention. And the intention always is to go to the center of our being, to lay a hold of that thing that is greater than us. And it comes in all different ways and shapes and sizes. It comes differently in different seasons on planet Earth and in different seasons in our own lives. Yet it itself is unchanging, the eternal nature of pure spirit. So that when we come together in that purpose, guided by infinite wisdom and prospered by divine love, when we come together in that purpose, it forms an integrity and a strength that is unbreakable. even in the midst of the deepest seeming tragedies, there is always the light. And the light always wins, no matter what it seems on the outside. So we keep an inner focus. And the inner focus becomes guiding. So that when we get in trouble, when we find ourselves in situations that seem that we are unable to deal with them, we have an inner solidity, an inner integrity in that unchanging spirit. So that what's in our heart begins to become aligned with our actions, and our actions begin to become aligned with what is in our heart. And in that way, the intellect, which can really beat us up, doesn't have to work so hard to try to figure everything out and keep everything in earthly order, in materialistic order. That is, that the heart's intelligence, which is entire and connected, will give to the thinking mind the things that it was meant to do, the simple calculations of daily life, how to meet somebody for an appointment, how to utilize time appropriately, how to be true to our word, how to nourish our bodies, and how to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. So I think about this harmony in relation to what are we doing, not just in the world, but here specifically at Everett Unity. What are we doing? And for me, it all comes down to what we just talked about. The inner aligning with the outer so that we are in integrity with what we truly want to be, with what we're truly called to be from the higher knowing, from the Star of Bethlehem, so that we can become ever increasingly aware that we are the Christ and that we are the lightbringers for this world. And isn't that a beautiful task to be charged with? So in our special services that we have now, we've had our candlelighting service. And if you did that with us, you called in a power, or maybe two, or maybe four, or maybe you lit the Christ candle, which is asking to be taught how to utilize your divine 12 powers fully, which can be a daunting task. But however it is, whatever candle you lit, whatever divine power you seek to cultivate in your life to harmonize your different aspects of your being as we discussed, that's no small thing in itself. Let's take one for example, wisdom. God, teach me wisdom. And we don't suddenly get endowed with wisdom and we've just got it. We get all these experiences to look for the wisdom beyond appearances. And so it is with each of the powers. And of course, it's much more than that simplistic explanation. But if our minds are harmonized with the divine, we will be shown exactly what to do, when, and we won't need to worry about it because we will begin to trust. So we've got the candle lighting, and then we had our Christmas service where we looked at what the birth of the Christ actually means in metaphysical terms, as we're speaking today. And now we're going to come into some more special services. And these special services are designed to align us in that unity of purpose. So we've got a white stone ceremony, and we'll get into that. I won't do too much detail today because when you do the service, we'll talk about it more. But basically, you go to your higher self and ask for a word. And when that word comes, you will write it on your white stone. And that will be your word for the year. And it's very interesting in the years that I've been doing this to see how that one word that the higher self gives to the human self is so guiding for the year. It's no small thing. And then as soon as we get the word, we will also write ourselves a letter. Sometimes we write a letter to God. Sometimes we write a letter as if we're God writing to ourselves, or as if we're the higher self writing to our smaller self, as we're talking about. And you can imagine the potency of that. If the best of you could talk to what you perceive as the worst of you, what would you say? It's just like when you see the best in another and they can't see it for themselves. You have the capacity to do that within yourself. And when we come together to do that, that power is very strengthened and very lifted up. And we begin to realize that we are the lightbringers. And then finally in the new year, we will do the burning bowl ceremony. And the burning bowl is similar to the white stone, except sort of in reverse, where we ask our higher self, what is in the way? What is in the way in my consciousness, in the way I believe about the world and about myself? What is in the way of me laying a hold of my divine power, of my guiding word, and what needs to be released? And it will come. And then we will write it on a piece of paper, and some of us will burn it in a fire, shred it in a shredder, throw it in a garbage can, stomp on it, put it in water, whatever symbolizes the elimination of that as a block to our divine nature. That's a lot of stuff just in a couple of short weeks. And then aligned with this harmonic convergence, this great planetary alignment, and the sun coming up, and it literally, solstice means sun stands still. It literally seems to stop and then begin again. And isn't that what our life is like? You know, the shortest day of the year, I think it'll be dark at something like 4 o'clock this afternoon, really, not even this evening. And so by the time it's 8 o'clock, we feel like it's, midnight. But there's something else that happens at the shortest day of the year. The light begins to come again and get a little bit longer the next day, and a little bit longer the next day. And then it begins to become brighter in our world. And it's very symbolic of the moods and attitudes that we can flow through. So we harmonize those things and we lift them up into the pure light of being, into the pure light of God. And then we're not so swayed by those moods and those vacillations and those high dramas of our life. We begin to see through the eyes of Christ and through the eyes of God what's actually possible in the world for ourselves and each other. So this whole thing, this harmonizing, this harmonic convergence is a way of coming together in our unity of purpose. So you see, as lightbringers, we have this great opportunity, you and I, not only at our spiritual center, but as an entire race called humanity. You remember the notion that our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Really think about that. With the shepherds in the field, tending their flocks, and the flocks being relative to the ideas in our mind, and getting to know each of those ideas so that we can begin to command them, to take dominion for ourselves, because truthfully, no one can do it for you, ultimately. We have wonderful teachers. Our founders are wonderful teachers. The East has many, many potent teachers, and there's another harmonization of East and West, of intuition and ingenuity. We bring those together and we lift it up. We have all these wonderful teachers. But ultimately, it is you that must say, this is what I choose for my life. Okay, so let's bring ourselves to meditation now. Palms facing up, and today especially, let it be a gesture of receiving. Place those hands in your lap or however else you do like to place your hands in meditation. And then imagine your body right now through the spiritual eye, through your imagination, through your inner eye. Imagine your whole body. You are right now surrounded in ether, in buzzing lifetrons all around you. Just life buzzing. And yet, you have a container called your body. So we lift through the very center of our being. We lift in our spine, especially in our subtle spine, what's beyond the physical. And then please gently close your eyes. And let the scene that your physical eyes were looking at melt away. Watch it just slowly disappear. And then imagine a gentle energy that's very powerful at the same time, right through the center of your spine. Both deeply connected to the earth through the lower regions of your physical body, and yet entirely open at the crown. And now, being a light bringer, allow the light of God to simply pour into you. Feel your shoulders soften and your heart open. Feel the solidity of your groundedness and the openness of your presence. Feel the softness of your face and the determination of your focus. And in this moment, we can realize a divine truth. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. And now, instead of identification with the body, we realize our body, no matter what condition it is in, as a sacred temple of the divine. And as such, we are stewards of this body and of this divinity. And now the focus comes to the spiritual eye, the point between the eyebrows, the Star of Bethlehem. And through the crown and through the spiritual eye, feel yourself flooded with divine light. Celestial, angelic, pure, holy light. This is pure energy and it transcends all earthly energy, so that you are absolutely and entirely protected now through this light. There is nothing that can hurt you, harm you, or diminish you as you stay focused as the light. And now, being the light, you are the light bringer as well. Feel it emanating through every aspect of your being, into the earth, easily infusing its entirety, into the air that surrounds the earth, and into the ether which encapsulate your entire being. Limitless, boundless, everything is engulfed in this pure holy light. And we enter the silence together. gently we come back into the body, and at once feel the whole presence of your physical being. Feel your heart. Feel your expanded heart. Feel your mind and your brain. Feel your light. Feel your expanded light. And gently open up your eyes. So this recording will end here shortly. And if you feel so inclined, meditate for as long as you wish after. You can never spend too much time in the presence. Through this holiday season, remember that even 30 seconds of this kind of focus transcends all time and is entirely nourishing to your spirit, so you can recharge very quickly. Especially on Christmas Day, we want to take some time together to close our eyes, enter the pure presence, and think, feel that living Christ. What a blessing it has been to be with you, and thank you for watching, for being a part of this that we're doing together. And in our unity of purpose, we are guided by infinite wisdom and prospered by divine love. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are that light. God is, and all is well. Thank you.